Hello everyone, and welcome to Vestiges of History, where we tell of storied lives. Today is just another example of how weird my life has gotten doing this show. If you'd have told me that one day I would be working with the vestiges of a quadruple ace and a Medal of Honor recipient, I would have thought you were nuts. But here we are. I am indescribably grateful. This is Vestiges of History, and this is Lieutenant Colonel Kenneth Ambrose Walsh, U.S. Marine Corps. So what in the Arkansas toothpick is this? This, my fellow nerds, is the knife that knifed other knives. Kenny Walsh's Western V44 survival knife. It measures 14 3/8 inches from tip to stern with a 9 1/8 inch clip point Bowie blade. The blade has a 4-inch false edge and a pair of very narrow 3 7/8 inch long fullers near the spine on both sides. At the ricasso, we see a flat sheet steel crossguard measuring 3 11/16 of an inch long and 1 inch wide at its widest. The reverse side of the ricasso is marked Western near the spine. The knife shows age and wear and tarnish as expected. And finally, the knife features custom bone scales on the handle secured by rivets. The sheath is also custom made in the field of full grain leather and hand-stamped brass rivets the entire length of one side. A straightforward but efficient design. A large-size Marine Corps Eagle Globe and anchor with an unfouled anchor and only lat lines affixed to the top. The wear on this is super cool, and especially how the leather curled over from the likely thousands of times the knife was taken out and resheathed. And finally, when we take the knife out, we see that Kenny carved his last name into the belt loop section. This knife came straight out of his estate and has been in the hands of one of his neighbors for quite some time. If only these things could talk, but in a way, they do. So who was Kenneth Ambrose Walsh? Kenneth Ambrose Walsh was born 24 November 1916 in Brooklyn, New York. Kenny enlisted in the Marine Corps on 15 December 1933 and completed boot camp at Parris Island, South Carolina. Afterward, he served 2 years as an aviation mechanic and radioman at Marine Corps Base Quantico, Virginia. But he wanted to fly. In March of 1936, Walsh was selected for flight training and transferred to Pensacola, Florida. He earned his wings in April of 1937 and spent 4 years in scout and observation flying. He served aboard the USS Yorktown, Wasp, and the Ranger aircraft carriers. His promotions through the enlisted ranks led him to the rank of Marine Gunner, equivalent to the present rank of Warrant Officer, which he attained on 11 May of 1942. His further promotions included promotion to Major in April 1955 and Lieutenant Colonel in 1958. Kenneth Walsh's notable combat service occurred during the Guadalcanal campaign, where he earned his reputation as a skilled fighter pilot. He was also one of a handful of Marine aviators qualified as an aircraft carrier landing signal officer. Walsh was assigned to VMF 124 in September 1942. He was one of the most experienced pilots in the Corps' first Vought F4U Corsair Squadron. VMF 124 arrived at Guadalcanal in February 1943 and was immediately committed to combat. Walsh claimed his first 3 Japanese planes on 1 April 1943, April Fools, and 2 more in his following combat action on 13 May 1943, becoming the first Corsair fighter ace. Walsh brought his score to 20 victories by the end of August 1943, including 2 combat actions over the Solomon Islands, which earned him the Medal of Honor. He returned to the United States on 5 October 1943. Walsh returned to flying combat missions in April of 1945, serving with VMF 122. He was awarded his 7th Distinguished Flying Cross for heroism and extraordinary achievement from 28 April to 12 May of 1945, in the Philippine Islands. He scored his last kill while serving as the operations officer for VMF 222 at Okinawa on 22 June 1945. He became the assistant operations officer at Marine Aircraft Group 14, 2nd Marine Aircraft Wing on Okinawa. Walsh returned to the United States in March 1946. After World War II, he continued his service with various assignments, including time behind the stick in the Korean conflict. Kenneth Walsh retired from active service in the Marine Corps in January of 1962 after over 28 years of continuous active duty. He passed away on 30 July 1998 in Santa Ana, California, leaving a remarkable legacy of service and sacrifice. His awards and honors include the Medal of Honor, the Distinguished Flying Cross with 6 gold stars, the Air Medal with 14 gold stars, the Presidential Unit Citation with 1 bronze star, the Army Distinguished Unit Citation with emblem, and several campaign and service medals, including those for World War II and the Korean conflict. His citation for the Medal of Honor read, "For extraordinary heroism and intrepidity above and beyond the call of duty as a pilot in Marine Fighting Squadron 124 in aerial combat against enemy Japanese forces in the Solomon Islands area. Determined to thwart the enemy's attempt to bomb Allied ground forces and shipping at Vella Vella on 15 August 1943, First Lieutenant Walsh repeatedly dived his plane into an enemy formation outnumbering his own division 6-1, and although his aircraft was hit numerous times, shot down 2 Japanese dive bombers and 1 fighter. After developing engine trouble on 30 August, during a vital escort mission, First Lieutenant Walsh landed his mechanically disabled plane at Munda, quickly replaced it with another, and rejoined his flight over Kahili. Separated from his escort group when he encountered approximately 50 Japanese Zeros, he unhesitatingly attacked, striking with relentless fury in his lone battle against a powerful force. He destroyed 4 hostile fighters before cannon shell fire forced him to make a dead stick landing off Vella Vella, where he was later picked up. His valiant leadership and his daring skill as a flyer served as a source of confidence and inspiration to his fellow pilots and reflected the highest credit upon the U.S. Naval Service. So, I don't know about you, but holding this piece of history in my hands is incredible. I love the fact that I get to do this, and these artifacts, these vestiges of these very brief moments in one person's life can tell an incredible story. It opens a door that otherwise would have remained closed. I thank you for your time today, and I hope to see many of you in France for the 80th. Feel free to say hi, and as always, you never know who will tell your story. Live a storied life.